We have in the studio the Managing Director of Ascension Consulting Services, Mr. Azeez Alatoye, who will be speaking on pioneer status with us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Alatoye.
Good morning.
And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Can you please explain exactly what this pioneer status is all about?
All right, thanks very much. Pioneer status is actually a scheme of the federal government, and it is backed up by the Industrial Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act of 1971, which is now Cap 17 of the 2004 edition of the law. So what it does is that the government give a tax holiday for the first 3 years plus another 1 year plus another 1 year, making 5 years, or 3 years plus 2 years, making 5 years, or the government sometimes give 5 years a holiday. And what that does is that the savings you are making there, you have to reinvest it into that business so that the business could really boom. And it's one of the tools, the taxation tools that the government use to boost an economy. Taxation is being used because you can use it for two things. It's either you use it to boost the economy or to wind down some businesses. If you ask them to pay more tax, it means you want to discourage that business, like the tobacco industry if you want to. But if you reduce the tax, or you even give a pioneer status, means you are given a tax holiday, you don't pay tax for a certain period, then it means the government want to boost that industry. So that's exactly how the pioneer status works in the industry. It provides a base revenue, a base fund for them to get more fund from the banks, and then be able to do more exploration businesses and then more production.
And pay less tax.
How would you...
Tax holiday.
Yes, exactly.
How would you say this PSI, if I may use that acronym, how would you say this PSI has affected the industry? Because there are some who say there's not been much of a remarkable investment in the oil and gas sector for a while now.
Yes, there hasn't been, probably, because of the security environment that we are in. But I can say that it had actually contributed to even where we are. Because if there hasn't been this PSI, that is a pioneer status incentive, to the indigenous and then the marginal field operators, you see, they wouldn't have been able to move their production level from like 80,000 barrels that they are doing per day to 200,000 barrels per day. So if the government is announcing any volume of production today, that is a part of that production per day that we have. What that means is that if that had dropped, if it is not there, then it means the government couldn't have gotten to that level where we are. You remember sometimes last year when the government production was, I think, about 1.850 million barrels per day. So assuming you don't have about 120 there, so it means it would drop back to about 1.6 million barrels per day. And Angola was quite happy that Nigeria dropped for the first time below its own production level, and they did celebrated it. So the pioneer status incentive had actually contributed, positively to the oil and gas sector, even though the government is yet to meet its objective of the 4 million barrels, per day.
So you would say that the PSI is yielding the results that government had in mind by introducing it?
Yes, it has started yielding the results, but the government is not there yet, because the government target actually is to get to 4 million barrels per day, and we are still under 3 million barrels per day.
4 million barrels per day of production.
Of production, exactly.
Well, you're certain we're under 3 million?
No, we're under 3. It's being reported in the papers every day. You could go to some websites.
But there are also speculations that there's still uncertainty the exact amount of crude we produce.
And some wells are, we hear that some wells are drying up. So, and we have been told that in 15 years we'll no longer have oil, which means that production is dwindling. So where will 4 million come from?
Yeah, that's where the government needs to encourage investment so that you can develop your reserve. Because we have the potentials of having about 40 billion, barrels there of reserve. But you need to develop it, through investment. And this is what, this PSI, where it comes in,
will encourage people.
Will encourage people, to develop, especially the indigenous and then the marginal field operators. So if we do that, we still have about 35 years, to 40 years of winning the 4 million barrels per day. And one good thing is, if we don't do that, on time, world is looking towards some other directions of energy.
Yeah.
You will just discover that you have the crude there, and that's it. Everybody will be passing on it. In those days, it used to be coal, and Enugu was, very known popularly, in the whole world, that coal, we have coal from Enugu. But now, how many people use coal? We still use it, fine, but not at the level that we are talking about. So you need to make the best use of it right now. Sell what you can sell as a capital, for the development of the nation.
But what would you say about in terms of infractions in the area of the PSI? How many infractions would,
have there been any infractions?
Yeah. You see, when people talk about infractions, sometimes I smile because probably they see this thing is complex, we don't know about it. Let's just say something, against it. It is a government policy. And it's very clear. The government said, I want to move from 2.5 million to 4 million, barrels per day. And it's supported by law, the Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act of 1971, now 2004. The law is there that says that the president, has the power, to grant any industry pioneer status. Now, when you talk about infraction, people used to think that it is like fuel subsidy or EEG, this export expansion grant, where probably government pay cash to people. In the oil and gas sector, you don't pay cash, to people. What you do is that the tax you will have paid, is what you reinvest for more production. So it is not like the subsidy that people think about. I think there is a mix-up there, and there are people are thinking, oh, probably that government has... it's just like you give a tuition waiver to a student. That, look, you will have ended up in technical college, but instead of ending up in technical college, the government waive the tuition fee for you, and then you go to university. So when you get to university, your profile then goes up. That is the way it works there. And so you have about 3 agencies to cross in making sure that this pioneer works. The first one is the NIPC, the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. You need to submit an application to them. You do feasibility study that truly you can do it. You go and make presentation to them. You go to the field. They inspect. And then after that, they give you a preliminary approval. Then after that, you apply to the Industrial Development, the Industrial Inspectorate Directorate of the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment. So they also go there, inspect. There is a lot of work done. They give you the production day certificate. From the production day certificate, you come back to the NIPC again, you process your certificate. From the NIPC again, you apply to the Federal Inland Revenue Service. So it's a whole lot of complex...
Is this not cumbersome?
Yeah, exactly. So when people talk about infraction, I say at which level? But one thing is, in Nigeria, if you are part of a scheme, you understand it, you're able to talk very well about it. It looks easier to you. But some, it doesn't look that easy. And all you just do is just to throw both the baby and the bathwater away and say, sorry,